My name is Matthew Sullivan. I'm a Zen master in the Korean tradition, and this is the third video that I'm recording for the meditators and practitioners at Sana Yoga as part of the COVID crisis. In my last talk, I spoke a little bit about the Zen approach to anxiety. The goal of meditation isn't to make you impervious to pain and anxiety. Rather, negative emotions like that have an important role to play in opening yourself up, strengthening your practice, and making you more compassionate and empathetic for others. And today, I want to go a little deeper into the practice of how we repurpose our anxiety so that we can nurture our own store of serenity and wisdom. There's a story that I like about Bodhidharma, who was the semi-mythical founder of Zen in China. He was an Indian sage who lived about 1500 years ago, and he was the one who brought the Zen teachings from India and transplanted them to China, where they grew and flourished. And this story is about his meeting with a young Chinese monk named Huike, who would become his first disciple and would go on to become the very first native Chinese Zen master. And so this story is really the story about the origin of Zen in East Asia. And it is a story about anxiety. And it goes like this. Hearing that a great teacher from India was hiding out in the mountains at the remote Shaolin monastery in Honan province, the young monk Huike went in search of him. He traveled for many days over the mountains and through the winter snowstorms until at last he arrived at the temple. But when Bodhidharma heard that Huike had come to see him, he ordered that the gates be shut in his face. "You have no discipline," said Bodhidharma to Huike from the top of the monastery gates. "Go away." But Huike did not go away. He just settled down in front of the gates to wait, even though it was the middle of a brutal snowstorm. And in the morning, when Huike was still there, buried underneath a snowdrift, Bodhidharma relented and he had the gates opened. Now, it may seem like it was discipline or devotion that made Huike wait in the cold all night. But it wasn't. It was desperation and anxiety that motivated him. And we know that because of the first words he said to Bodhidharma when they had their audience together inside the temple. They were sitting across from each other. And Huike said to Bodhidharma, "I have so much suffering." And Bodhidharma said back, "Bring me your suffering, and I will pacify it for you." So Huike went away to meditate so that he could find his pain and suffering and bring it for Bodhidharma to heal. But where is pain located? Where is anxiety? How do you hold them? How much do they weigh? What color do they have? What substance do they have? How do you present your sufferings to another person? Huike couldn't answer any of these questions. So he returned to Bodhidharma and he said, I have searched for my suffering and I cannot find it. And Bodhidharma said to Huike, there, I have pacified your suffering for you. And hearing that, Huike got his first glimpse of what makes Zen, Zen. And he was hooked. I'm hooked on that story because it is packed with so many helpful ideas. First of all, Huike is just a great example for us all. Like many of us, like many of you who are watching this video, Huike was drawn to meditation because he was in pain. He wasn't drawn to it because he was naturally calm or his mind was naturally serene. And that shows that you don't need to have some kind of glass-like mind, some perfect calm mind in order to become a great Zen master. You just need to have the motivation to work with your pain and your distractions in a productive way. And that's one of the great principles of Zen. You work with what you have. If you have serenity, great, then use serenity as your guide. But if you have pain, then that's okay too. You can use your pain as a guide. The second thing that I like about this story is that Bodhidharma tells Huike to meditate with his pain. That is how we use our pain as fuel. We sit with it. The reason your anxiety is painful is because it has so much energy. It's like too hot a fire in too small a furnace. But if you can channel even a little bit of that energy into the proper outlet, it can make your practice very powerful. It can heat your whole house. And the last thing that I love about this story is that it ends with Huike getting an insight. But that insight comes from his failure. That is the true beginning of Zen in East Asia. The realization that failure and uncertainty is a secret sauce for well-being. Huike tries to locate his suffering, all this suffering that drove him over mountains and through snowstorms. And he sits and he sits and he can't figure out what his teacher wants from him. Where is this suffering? What is this suffering? How do I show it? He can't figure it out. And finally, shamefacedly, he confesses his failure, and boom, Bodhidharma tells him, your failure is exactly what you need. We are all in a situation these days where we have a lot of anxiety and perhaps a lot of failure too. Failure to cope better, failure to structure our days the way we want them to look, failure to stop failing. And if that's true for you, what I say to you, what I also say to myself, is to be more like Huike. Accept your suffering as natural and try to work with it, just a little bit of it at a time. And one way to do that is when you are feeling anxious or unhappy, take 5 or 10 minutes and sit in meditation. You don't need very long. Get into your meditation posture. Feel your body on the cushion. Rest your mind on your breath. And feel the natural rhythm of your inhalations and your exhalations in your whole body. And when a feeling of anxiety enters your awareness, ask yourself this question: what is feeling the anxiety? What is feeling the anxiety? You don't have to answer this question. In fact, it's better if you don't answer the question. The point isn't to find an answer, but to investigate the question. What is feeling the anxiety? Where is the experience? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it out there? Is it in your roommate's face? Is it nowhere? The deeper you probe this question, the more you are using your pain as fuel for practice. And if you think you have an answer to that question, that's great. Probe further. And if you can't find an answer, that's great too. Because then you are just like Huike. And if you meditate this way for even a few minutes every day, perhaps, like Huike, you will also get to meet Bodhidharma face to face. I wonder what he will say to you. Thank you, and I hope you and your family are well.